What's up, guys? It is RGT85. Hope everyone had a great weekend, but of course, we got video game news to talk about. A couple stories going on that I want to cover. If this is your first time on the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like and share the video as well. But without any further ado, let's talk about what's going on in the world of video games. We're going to start out with some Konami stuff, and I hate Konami. I just straight up hate them. Like Capcom, I can love to hate them. They do a lot of good things, they do a lot of bad things, but Konami is like just the worst company in the world because of the fact that they have all of these classic franchises and they don't do anything with them. And you say, oh well, RGT, they just did the Castlevania Advanced Collection. No, M2 did that. It was just licensed by Konami for M2 to work on those games. Konami as a company doesn't do anything, and now we're hearing some rumors about Metal Gear Solid getting a bunch of remasters. Silent Hill is coming back. Another company is working on it. Oh look, let's talk about a new Castlevania as well, because everyone loves to talk about Castlevania, and it's like, that's cool. Like, in theory that sounds great, but we're talking about in theory with Konami, a company that hasn't done anything like in the past decade with any of their main franchises or any of their games. Like, what's the last game they made? The Pro Evolution Soccer game for the PC. That's a free-to-play game that's buggy and broken and has a bunch of issues in it. Like, what do Konami employees actually do? Like, what do the employees that work at Konami actually do? Because I assume they still have a video game division. I assume that they are still employing people to make video games, yet you never see any video games from Konami. You might see a pachinko machine, you might get one game that of course ends up getting canceled, like that track and field game was for the Nintendo Switch. It's like, what do your employees do? What are you paying people to do at Konami right now? But this new situation, because I'm not even buying into the whole Metal Gear, Castlevania, and of course Silent Hill situation. It's like, crap or get off the pot with this situation. We have heard it so many times. You're just sitting on the toilet, thinking about doing it. Like, either do it or move on and just go in a different direction with your company. Maybe liquidate all of your assets and all of your franchises to companies that will actually care. But this new thing that Konami is doing is just bizarre. It just shows you what sort of company this actually is, because they want you to make games of their franchises, and then they're going to give you an award if they like your game. So allegedly what is happening right now is Konami is currently hosting a Japanese indie game contest, and they're basically asking companies, small independent companies, to make games based on their classic franchises. Over 80 franchises you could choose from, with franchises such as Goemon, Twin B, Gradius, other franchises in the series. And basically the winner will get about $18,000 in US dollars, and then they'll be given the opportunity to commercialize their game, with Konami basically funding it for up to $270,000 US dollars to provide development funds and things of that nature. But this whole thing is bizarre to me, because essentially what Konami is saying is, you know what, we don't know how to make video games anymore. We don't know what we're doing, but we want you to make a game, and if we like your game, you will be the winner, and then we will make this game. Realistically speaking, that's not a whole lot of money. $270,000 to make a full, realized, fleshed out version of a classic Konami IP doesn't really seem like that much money, especially in the terms of video game development, because you're not just talking about the development of the game itself or anything like that. You're also talking about having to pay employees, because people have to be paid to work on this game. This game could take a year, it could take 3 years, who knows, depending on the size and scope of it. So it's just like Konami is just a company that doesn't know what they're doing. Do I believe these Metal Gear rumors and Castlevania and Silent Hill? No. With Konami, they don't get any sort of benefit of a doubt, because we have heard this sort of stuff over and over and over again. Oh, Konami's bringing this back, Konami's bringing that back, and at the most they will release a classic compilation of their games, and it's like, okay, these are cool, I do enjoy them, I absolutely love the Castlevania Advanced Collection, but you didn't do anything with this. M2 is the company that did this. You're basically paying people to port these games that you have previously had under your umbrella to bring them to modern platforms. And now you're paying people to actually make new games in your franchises because you don't know what you're doing. It's just such a sad situation, honestly. When you think of Konami and all of their classic IPs and all of the games they can choose from to create, they choose to create Well, nothing. And then they put the burden on independent developers and say, well, you make it. You know, if you're so good, you make the game. And it's just silly at this point. In my opinion, Konami just needs to liquidate their assets. They need to sell off their franchises to other companies and just quietly leave the video game industry. You really haven't been a part of the video game industry for quite a while now. You've sort of focused more on pachinko machines and things of that nature. You've said you're going to make video games. You said you're going to focus on video games, but obviously you don't believe in what you're saying because you never follow through with it. So it's just a weird situation in my opinion. Let me know in the comments section down below if you plan on making a game and submitting it to Konami for their little competition going on. It is based in Japan, but I'm sure gaijins can enter this contest as well. So let me know what you think of this whole situation in the comment section down below. And finally, we of course have a big Nintendo Switch release this upcoming week with the Nintendo Switch OLED and of course Metroid Dread. But now there's been more rumors about other Metroid games potentially coming to the Nintendo Switch. Now years ago we talked about the Metroid Prime Trilogy HD collection coming to the Nintendo Switch, basically the Metroid Prime games that released on the GameCube and the Nintendo Wii being upscaled for the Nintendo Switch and then being released. And people expected to see this back when Reggie Fils-Aimé was with the company. They expected to see it at the Video Game Awards, and of course time has come and gone, and well, that game just seems to not exist. But now it seems like it's sort of moving in a different direction as far as the rumors are concerned. We talked about all this on the Spawncast on Saturday night, and it was a interesting topic that I was a little bit outspoken on, but I sort of want to explore my thoughts a bit deeper in my own video. But supposedly, allegedly, Metroid Prime 1, the best-selling Metroid game of all time that of course released on the GameCube, is getting more of a remaster than just a remake, meaning that it's basically being more built with the Nintendo Switch in mind instead of taking the GameCube textures and then just up-resing them for the modern era. And allegedly Retro is working on this title. I know Nate and Spawnwave seem to have heard a few things about this as they discussed it. I believe Spawnwave also did a video of it on his channel, but I don't like this idea. Like, in theory, it sounds good. In theory, Metroid Prime is a fantastic game. In theory, this is a game that I would love to see remade from the ground up with the Nintendo Switch in mind, utilizing the additional power of the Switch compared to the GameCube. In theory. The problem with this comes from the fact that Retro would be the company working on this, and Retro just seems to be a strange company. Think of how many canceled Retro games there have been over the years. What's the last game that Retro has done? It was, of course, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, a great game, but it's a Wii U game that released in 2014, I believe, and then was re-released on the Nintendo Switch. Much like Konami, what is Retro doing? It's been 7 years since you released a new game for a platform. Like, what games have you been working on? Were you working on a Metroid Prime Trilogy HD collection and then you scrapped it and then you moved on to a Metroid Prime 1 remake? If that's the case, why do you keep scrapping all of your projects? And what does that say about Metroid Prime 4? Metroid Prime 4 was of course unveiled back in 2017. Bandai Namco was working on it, and then it got shifted over to Retro Studios because I guess Bandai Namco didn't know what they were doing. But once again, Retro Studios would have yet another project falling into their lap with a game like Metroid Prime 4, and then supposedly doing the Metroid Prime Trilogy remake, but then that was scrapped, and now they're doing a Metroid Prime 1 full-on remaster. And it's just like, you focus on the task at hand here. You know, why are you taking on other tasks when realistically you still haven't provided anything since like 2014? In my mind, you should be focusing on Metroid Prime 4 and only Metroid Prime 4. You can outsource a Metroid Prime Trilogy HD collection if you really wanted to. Obviously, this is just a matter of porting it. Yes, the controls would be kind of weird. You would have to do things with them, but Nintendo could provide help themselves with that sort of situation. Whereas rebuilding the game from the ground up, that's, to me, sounds like a big task. That to me sounds like something that's going to take away development time from Metroid Prime 4, a game that we still haven't seen a single screenshot of, we haven't seen a single video of, or anything like that. Now, supposedly this Metroid Prime 1 remaster, remake, whatever the hell they're going to call it, is coming out in 2022, and it's just like, well, if that's coming out, then there's no chance in hell that Metroid Prime 4 4 is coming out. To me, like, Retro sounds a lot like Konami. Now, granted, Retro is a much smaller studio than Konami, but it's just weird to me. I don't like to hear about companies taking on more projects when they still have projects that they haven't finished yet that probably need to be finished. It's kind of like the whole situation with Platinum Games. Like, where the hell is Bayonetta 3? Why are you working on other stuff when you said you first unveiled Bayonetta 3 back in 2017? But at least with that game, we've seen it. You know, we know what to expect with this game finally. Whereas with Metroid Prime 4, it's just, you know, a weird situation. I don't know. I don't know what to think of all of this. It just, to me, it sounds a lot like the Konami situation. On paper, it sounds great. In theory, it sounds great. But how's the execution of this going to work out? How's this actually going to be functionality wise when it comes to this new game coming to the Nintendo Switch? I have my doubts. Alrighty, so that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to let me know what you think of everything in the comments section down below. Yes, I was kind of negative about both of these stories, but I don't care because there's a 50-50 chance that, of course, these stories will work out, but I'm leaning towards the negative 50-50 side more so than the positive. If you understand that reference, you watch the Spawncast on Saturday. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like and share the video as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.